Good morning. Welcome. Great to see you here today. Wonderful to have you worshiping with us. If you are, I'm getting a little echo back on me. I'm not sure. If you're here with us today for the first time, a special welcome to you. Glad to have you worshiping with us in this kind of a Halloween feel as we go into today. You know, Halloween's not a church holiday or anything like that, but it kind of calls our attention to a church holiday, which is a little bit later this week. Halloween, tomorrow, All Hallows Eve. And so that tomorrow is the eve of All Hallows Day, which is on Tuesday, November 1st, and that's what we call All Saints Day. So All Hallows is all those that we honor, those that we revere. And so when we talk about All Saints Day, on which it's always on November 1st, it just happens to be Tuesday this year. So we have that tie-in, and it's kind of good to remember the real meaning of the word Halloween in the first place. And so anyway, it's great to have you here. We're continuing our series today on the Lord's Prayer. We're going to be kind of looking more closely at that. One of the lines near the end of the prayer, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. So kind of a heavy-duty theme as the prayer kind of wraps up. We're going to talk about that a little more deeply as we worship together today. It's great to see you. We like to say whoever you are and wherever you are in your journey of faith, you are welcome here. I'm going to invite you to stand right now so we can move right into our worship today. Let's stand and sing together.
Our hearts, here in our lives, our God is here. Here for the broken, here for the strong, here in this temple we belong. Here in our hearts, here in our lives, our God is here. And we cry, holy, holy, holy are you. We cry, holy, holy, holy and true. Amen, we do believe our God is here. Our God is here. Here in the world, God is revealed, here where the wounded can be healed. Here in our hearts, here in our lives, our God is here. Here we become what we receive, here in this Eucharistic feast. We are His body, living as one, our God is here. And we cry, holy, holy, holy are you. We cry, holy, holy, holy and true. Amen, we do believe our God is here. Our God is here. And we cry, holy, be no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Like a blind man I wandered alone. Worries and fears I claimed for my own. And like a blind man God gave back his sight. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I was a fool to wander astray, for straight is the gate and narrow's the way. Now I have traded the rod for the right. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Praise the Lord, I saw the light.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Dave Byers. I'm your worship leader today. Thank you so much for worshiping with us. It is wonderful to have you with us. That includes those of you that are joining us on the live stream. Please take a moment and fill out one of our registration forms. They're located in the white binders at the end of each row. Fill that out, send it down the row, and let us know you're here. This helps our office in our attendance tracking. Also inside those white binders are some name tags. We invite you to write your name, put one of those on while you're at it, and that helps us all better greet each other. As you exit today through the back doors, our restrooms will be off to your left and on the left. The estate planning workshop is still happening on November 6th, but the time has been changed to 4 p.m. Please speak with Dwayne Lyon for more information or if you'd like to attend. Finally today, we invite you all to join us this morning for a time of coffee, snacks, and fellowship downstairs in our social hall immediately following the service this morning. Now here's Pastor Joe to tell us of some of the other happenings.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, today is the day, our first ever trunk or treat. It's going to be great. Come out and join us in the back parking lot. That's the parking lot out that way behind the social hall for a safe, fun place for kids to trick or treat this afternoon. All ages can come anytime between 3:30 and 5:30. Wear your costumes, join the fun. We're going to have music, we're going to have games, we're going to have trunk or treating. We've advertised this out to Cypress School and the Garden Track neighborhood, and come on out and join us. It's going to be a great time this afternoon, 3:30 to 5:30. Now, let's see. Our Wonder Years kids today are wearing their costumes this morning, wanting to trick or treat for UNICEF. As you are leaving the church today, you're going to see some of them out there. You're going to see some of them down in the social hall. And if you have coins or even dollar bills that you want to put in there for UNICEF, the kids will be right out there in the narthex, the lobby area, and also in the social hall after the service. Join the fun, help out to a worthy cause. Help them out with a worthy cause. Now, next Sunday, I just mentioned that whole tie-in between Hallows Eve and Hallows Day, which is Tuesday, All Saints Day. Next Sunday will be All Saints Sunday. And so as part of our service, we will read the names of our own members and those who were at one time part of this church family who have died since last November 1st. As is our tradition, we're going to have a special table. It'll be set up, right over here. And that table is, we would welcome anyone if you would like to bring a photograph of a loved one that you have lost to place on the table during that day, during the service. Photographs can be placed there before each of the services next Sunday, the 10 a.m. and the 6 p.m., and collected afterwards. So that's part of our All Saints Sunday tradition. We hope you will be here next week. Let's see, a few other things. Kathy Leffler will be down in the social hall following worship today. She's selling tickets for a Seacom fundraiser, the Riverfront Playhouse Fall of the House of Usher, which will be this coming Wednesday evening. Talk with Kathy to get those tickets and for more details. Our letter writing group meets again this Thursday at 3 in the Fellowship Cafe room. This month, the team is writing letters to encourage the elimination of racial and ethnic disparities in employment and access to affordable credit by the Federal Reserve Board. They invite you to join them on Thursday, or if you can't join them, you can pick up letter templates at the Welcome Center today. And then finally, our UWF monthly thrift shop is this coming week. It's this coming Friday, November 1st, 9 to 3 p.m., and then Saturday the 5th from 9 to 11 a.m. Of course, normal pattern. Donations are accepted on Wednesdays and Thursdays this week. Setup will be on Wednesdays and Thursdays this week as well. And probably do this during the prayer time, but I don't want to forget these altar flowers. The flowers up here on our communion table are from Shirley Steinberg in memory of her mom and dad, Vi and Frank Lombard. So we thank Shirley and Marv for helping to beautify our worship space today. Thank you so much. Now we're going to invite our kids forward for their special time. Kids, come on down. It's that time. Come on and join me. Oh, I got to get something. What happened? I got to get my costume on. Hey guys. How are you? How you guys doing? It's good to see you today. Okay, well, let's see. I used to go along with the wireless handheld mic, but I think I'm just going to ask you guys, if you have your costume on, tell us what you are, and if you don't have your costume on, just tell us what you're going to be for Halloween, okay? So tell me what you are. A ninja, okay. You must be Spider-Man. Okay. What are you planning to be?
On Halloween, that's tomorrow, I'm planning to be Batgirl.
You're going to be Batgirl?
Yeah, I just forgot to bring my costume today.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good one. How about you?
Top Gun.
Top Gun guy. You're a Top Gun. Okay, and you must be Darth Vader. Scary. Okay, and you are?
I am Portia from Sing 2.
Say it again.
Portia from Sing 2.
Portia. From Thing 2. Sing 2, sorry. Oh, and now you got the mask on too, so that's good. Okay, that's great. Portia from Sing 2. Okay, got it. And Ava?
I'm a butterfly.
You're a butterfly.
Maybe Ash for Halloween.
Oh, and your wings work too. That's great. Good. Those are great. Okay, well, so one of the things you guys are going to do today, did Miss Christine tell you about this? You guys have seen these boxes yet? Do you already have your boxes? No, you're going to get them. Okay. This is what? UNICEF, right? So this is trick-or-treating for UNICEF. But I want you guys to know what it's all about, okay? So this has been going on for a long time. Some of the grown-ups remember this, right? Trick-or-treating for UNICEF started in 1950. 1950. That means 72 years it's been going on, right? I'm going to show you guys a commercial. You guys turn around. I'm going to show you guys a commercial for Trick or Treat for UNICEF that shows how long it's been going. Let's take a look at that.
Trick or treat for UNICEF. Trick or treat for UNICEF. Trick or treat for UNICEF.
For over 60 years, young people have helped other kids by trick-or-treating for UNICEF. It's an American tradition. And after 6 decades, Trick or Treat for UNICEF is still going strong.
Let me ask you something. Do you know what UNICEF stands for?
It's United Nations Children's Fund, and it helps children who are sick or hungry all over the world.
This Halloween, our kids will be on your doorstep again. Please drop a few coins in the orange box. For them, Halloween is a lot of fun. For UNICEF's children, it's a chance for a better life.
Help by putting as much money as you can in the orange UNICEF trick-or-treat boxes this Halloween.
Won't you help the children help the children?
Trick or treat for UNICEF.
Okay, so that was a good one. Now, when you hold this box out and people put coins in there, what do those coins go for? What do they help?
UNICEF?
Yeah, I know they help UNICEF, but what does UNICEF help? You know what it means?
People?
Yeah, yes, it does help people. It helps children, okay? Because UNICEF is United Nations Children's Fund, okay? So UNICEF helps kids all over the world. And here's on the back of the box, you can see they help build schools, they help with healthy meals, they help with purifying water, they prevent outbreaks of illness, all sorts of things. I also looked on the website, they provide blankets, they provide protection for kids. So UNICEF works all over the world to help children everywhere. So when you collect this money and you give it to Miss Christine, it goes to UNICEF and it helps children. You're helping children all over the world. Okay, isn't that a good idea? What'd you say?
I forgot my money with my mom.
That's okay, because you'll get to take the box with you, okay? And you'll have it with you, okay? Okay, well, so UNICEF is a really important thing that you guys get to be a part of. So let's have a prayer together right now, okay? Let's pray. Dear God, we thank you for all of these children. We thank you for UNICEF, which helps children all over the world. Help each of these children as they collect some money that is going to help children in other parts of the world. Be with us, watch over us, and guide us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Thanks for coming up, you guys. Thanks for coming up, everybody. You said that again. She says, I'm a girl. Okay, you guys and girls. I'll see you later, alligators, okay? And Miss Christine is back there. See you later. Okay.
Mary Poppins.
Okay, a lot of energy there, a lot of excitement. Okay, it's a big day. We're going to sing a great hymn right now. I'm going to invite you to stand so we can sing together. Let's stand and sing, O God, our help in ages past.
Please be seated. Our reading today is from Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 through 4. Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. He fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, and afterwards he was famished. The tempter came and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread." But he answered, "It is written, one does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." The word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God.
Thank you, Dave. I think I told the music team this story one time, but I may have told some of you in committees or in small groups, but I remember one time when I was in college, and if any of you ever lived if any of you remember living in a dorm at college, usually you would, I think all the students had a choice. You could get the 21 meal plan, so 3 meals a day, every day, right? Or you could get the 15 meal plan, right? And I think I got the 15 meal plan, which means, you can get 2 meals a day, and then maybe on one day you can get 3 meals, and then you're kind of on your own the rest of the time. And I thought, I can do that, it'll be okay. So one day, I was on the 15 meal plan, and one day, I think it was a Friday or a Saturday, someone gave me a package of malted milk balls. And some of you remember I don't know if they still come this way, but remember the Whoppers, Whoppers, those malted milk balls? They would come in like a milk carton. Remember that? They'd come in like a full-size milk carton. So I had this. Someone had given it to me, and I had it in my dorm room. And I got up that morning. It was either Saturday or Sunday morning, and I knew I wasn't going to have any breakfast. And it was going to be like, okay, no big deal. But I had to study. And I was sitting there studying, and pretty soon I said, I'm just going to have a couple of those malted milk balls. And first I ate a couple, and they were really good, really good. And then I ate a couple more. And by the time I was done, I think I ate like either 3/4 of that carton of malted milk balls, a whole milk carton full of them. Like that'd be like, if it was filled with milk, that'd be like a half gallon, right? And I was sick. I felt really sick. It was like a terrible lesson, and it was like one of those lessons like, why did I do that? What was I thinking? Somehow in the moment it seemed like a good decision. It seemed like the right decision, but my stomach told me later it wasn't. We're going to come back to that in just a few minutes, but today is our final sermon in our series on the Lord's Prayer. We've been following Adam Hamilton's book, The Lord's Prayer, the meaning and power of the prayer that Jesus taught. Today we're looking at the line, "And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil." First thing we want to say is that all of us are tempted. It is part of what being human is all about. Okay? Temptation is a part of what we face in our lives. Hamilton defines temptation as the lure or the pull that we feel internally to say or think or act in ways that are either morally wrong or are not healthy or are not helpful to us. He says we feel the inward struggle. We feel the wrestling of thoughts with the desire to do what we know is wrong or not to do what we know is right. Yes, sometimes the temptation is not to do anything when God is calling us to act. That also is a temptation. Some of you remember me talking a few years ago about Stephen Covey's idea that we create everything twice. We create something first in our mind, and then we create it in reality. And so we plan the route before we make the trip. So we've planned it how we're going to go in our head before we actually drive it. We plan where different vegetables are going to go before we actually plant the garden. A mental creation first, and then a physical creation. The same is true for this thing that we call temptation. At one point in the book, Hamilton mentions that what have been generally known as the 7 deadly sins, right? Greed, indifference, anger, lust, gluttony, envy, and pride. Before we commit any acts involving these sins, we are tempted by the thought of them. We get an idea about them, a mental creation, and then a physical creation. Every year in our confirmation class, I always do something with the 7th and 8th graders. I invite them to go home and bring back some newspaper clippings that describe evil in the world. And then we take one of those clippings and we sort of examine it. And like this year, we looked at one where someone pretended to be house cleaners or something like that, and they kidnapped a woman who was living at the house, and they held her for ransom. And so when we looked at this story, we sort of took it from the end. We started with the end of the story. And I said, okay, so they asked for ransom, and they got caught. They asked for ransom for the woman. Then what happened before that? Well, they took the woman for ransom. Then what happened before that? Well, they dressed up as house cleaners, and then she made a call, and they came over as house cleaners. And so we go back, and what happened before that? What happened before that? All the way back. And when you go back to the root cause of most of the things that we would describe as evil, it starts with that concept, that idea that something inside of us that causes us to move in this direction. And it was an idea that first came to Adam Hamilton as he was walking through a CVS store in a way that was not unlike my experience with the malted milk balls, right? Adam Hamilton, in his book, he describes his love of M&Ms. He notes first how, while he was trying to lose weight, he was lured to the shelf at the CVS store where the M&Ms were displayed. It was a beautiful display. And there were M&Ms in sharing size bags. Sharing size, right? You see the clever marketing there? I'm not buying this for myself. I'm buying this because I'm going to share. I'm buying it to share. Because I'm a person who likes to share. I'm the type of person that loves to share, right? Adam Hamilton loves M&Ms, and he noticed that the dark chocolate peanut M&Ms were the ones, they were on sale. And it was such a great deal. Buy one, get one free. Buy one, get one free. He pondered. He knew he was on the diet and all that kind of stuff. And he bought 10 bags of them. 10 bags. 5 pounds of M&Ms total. It was a good deal. And he could share them. He could share them with others, right? Hamilton had... This is where the story gets a little kind of weirdly different. Hamilton had an M&M's jar in his office. It was an actual jar that said M&M's on it, right? He had kept it empty for a year or more while he was trying to lose weight. And now, as he puts it, the jar just seemed to need filling. He had kept the jar, on the other side of the room, on the shelves, on his bookshelves on the other side of the room, but he felt like the jar needed to be filled, so he filled the jar with the dark chocolate peanut M&Ms, and he was looking at the jar, and he said, this jar would look a lot better on my desk. You know, it'd be better. It would go better right there on my desk. And so as he's doing some work, he thought, you know, first a mental plan, then putting something into action, right? Well, I can have four M&Ms, right? That's not very many, 4. And here's the insidious nature of the whole thing, right? The voice in his head says, you know, dark chocolate is good for you. Dark chocolate is good for you. And peanuts are good for you, right? So pretty soon 4 M&Ms became 8 M&Ms, then 16 M&Ms. Anyway, bottom line, he ended up eating the entire jar of M&Ms. Reminded me, and I think he got a stomach ache too. Reminded me of my experience with a whole, you know, milk carton full of malted milk balls, right? M&Ms might be a small example in the big scheme of things, but the point is, that's the way temptation works. There's an idea, a voice, a concept that starts us down a slippery slope. It doesn't matter if the sin is addiction, infidelity, embezzlement, greed, or pride. It starts with that idea, that concept, that voice. One of the things I need to address head on is the idea that there is a force to evil. The actual line in the Lord's Prayer, the actual line translated from the Greek is, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil. The evil. Some translators have taken that and changed it to the evil, have changed it to the evil one, right? But lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil. So evil is given sort of a presence in that word. I know we have, as a congregation, a variety of outlooks here in this church family. Some here believe that evil is what happens when humans go wrong. You know, as we said, we were talking about this last week. Our understanding of sin is when humans get things wrong. We talked about archery. We talked about that word hamartia, which means, the Greek word means missing the mark. We try to hit the target, but we miss the mark, right? But rather than just sinful behavior, I want to emphasize that evil is something that has intention behind it. Christians down through the centuries and those who wrote our scriptures have personified this, and so some may talk of the devil or of Satan. In Matthew's account that Dave shared with us today, this one is referred to simply as the tempter. The tempter. What I want to be clear about is that whether you believe that it is Satan or the devil acting in our lives, or that this is a personified version of human depravity and the darkness of our souls, either way, it's important to acknowledge evil as a force. There is a force of evil in this world, and I believe that there's a power to evil in our world, and that evil speaks to us through many different voices. The insidious part of temptation is that it does have this power all its own. And temptation can present itself in such a way that evil can seem like good. That's the tricky part, right? Evil can seem like good. In Adam Hamilton's story of the M&Ms, the voice in his head said, remember, dark chocolate is good for you, right? That gives him permission to eat more candy. We justify it. The voice justifies it, right? In the passage that Dave read for us this morning, Jesus is tempted. This is one of those temptation passages that we usually read once per year. He has been alone in the wilderness, Jesus has, for 40 days and 40 nights. We can imagine that he is very, very hungry. He is first shown some stones, and he is taunted by the tempter with the line, if you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread. Think about this. If the temptations are truly temptations, then there has to be real struggle there on Jesus' part. He's not just going through the motions, real internal human struggle. You know, as I think Adam Hamilton points out in the book, you know, the tempter could easily say, you know, surely God doesn't want you to starve. God doesn't want you to starve. It makes perfect sense to turn these stones into loaves of bread. Each temptation is designed to do two things. First, create doubt, and second, offer an easier way. So when you view the passage in context, we need to remember Jesus' time in the wilderness comes immediately after he has this glorious revelation at his baptism. During his baptism, Jesus, the Holy Spirit descends upon Jesus, and he hears a voice saying, "You are my Son, my beloved. With you I am well pleased." Okay? So Jesus gets this wonderful affirmation from God. "You are my Son, the beloved. With you I am well pleased." Most of us, if we had literally heard such a thing, we'd be thrilled, we'd be honored, we'd be confident of God's blessing. But now Jesus, after 40 days and nights in the wilderness, is there, and the first thing the tempter does is to cast doubt on his identity. He's following up on that blessing he received. If you are God's beloved Son, if you are the Son of God, then do this. That's the voice that Jesus hears. That's the doubt. If you are the Son of God, then go ahead and do this, right? Because Jesus overcame this and other temptations, we forget how much of an internal struggle it may have been for him, but more so how difficult it is for us. A writer named Marcy Calder, which is not her real name actually, shared this story in a popular magazine many years ago. Marcy Calder wrote, "I pushed the last of my red chips toward the dealer, and I tried to smile. But as he slowly turned over the cards, I knew I had lost. I had lost the last of the $10,000 I had borrowed in desperation." "Better luck next time," the dealer said, trying to cheer me up. I quickly turned, Marcy says, so he wouldn't see the tears streaming down my face. I was now $30,000 in debt. My 20-year marriage was destroyed, and my 4 children no longer trusted me. I had hit rock bottom. The casino's neon lights twinkled brightly at midnight as I left to get into my car, Marcy said. I turned back for one final look at a building that represented what had become my obsession. During the past 3 years, this gambling obsession, I finally realized what I'd become, a compulsive gambler. Years earlier, she says, my faith and my family had been the most important things in my life. I was elected to the town as one of our town council members, the successful owner of a business, and a well-known community member who organized youth groups and volunteered at the local schools. But now, she says, as I drove the 50 miles back home, I wept uncontrollably. There were no more people or banks to borrow from, no more words to use to manipulate my husband. My gambling addiction began with a simple game of bingo. I'd seen a sign advertising it, so out of curiosity, I went in and I played. That first time I played bingo, I won $500. It seemed so effortless. And since my husband David and I had been having some financial problems, the money enabled me to pay off some bills. When I told David about the winnings, he seemed to be equally happy. So I took his smile of approval and as sort of an okay to go ahead and play again. Yes, she says, I was a Christian, but I had never thought much about gambling, and I didn't think there was anything especially wrong with it. I had never heard a sermon preached against it. And since I considered myself to be a disciplined person, I didn't think I'd ever have a problem. Well, Marcy's once-a-week activity developed quickly into an every single night event. Her husband worked long hours and didn't realize what was happening. Marcy began to rationalize her behavior. Remember what we were talking about? Thing that starts to look good. You say things that start to make sense. And of course, this is what it's all about. She'd rationalized her behavior. Didn't she deserve a break, a night away from the kids? Besides, if her husband wasn't working so much, she probably wouldn't be doing this, she would tell herself. Soon she started looking for other forms of gambling in the hopes of hitting it big. She found a nearby Indian reservation where the winnings were supposedly bigger. With every trip to the grocery store, she would purchase $20 or $30 worth of lottery tickets. One time she spent almost $400 for the chance to win $250. Marcy said this, "I began borrowing money from friends and acquaintances, always providing them with a good reason why I needed that money. Due to my reputation, they lent it to me without question. But while they were congenial, David, my husband, was not. The evenings when I would arrive home were filled with angry words, promises, and tears. 2 years into my gambling, I began to feel suicidal," she said. "I cried constantly. I seldom slept. I didn't know a single moment of mental peace. My doctor prescribed for me both tranquilizers and antidepressants, but I didn't stop." She said, "I called a local savings and loan company and convinced them to allow me to apply for $10,000 over the phone and then take the loan papers to my husband David to sign. But David never saw those papers. I forged his name and used the money to cover what I'd already spent, most of which I'd lost over a 2-week time period at the casino. And so here I was, driving home after losing the last of the $10,000. I cried out to God, knowing that I had to do something. Marcy was lifting up a cry of distress, a cry for help. You know, one of the ways the Lord's Prayer can help each of us is for us to focus on the words, lead us. We're praying to God to lead us. We're asking God in the prayer to lead us. Again, pointing out things that I never thought about when saying the Lord's Prayer. Hamilton notes that the way we say the line is actually important. Somehow people get mixed up and think that maybe God will lead us into temptation, that God will lead us into temptation. So one suggestion that he and others have had is to put a comma after lead us. So the line would read, lead us, pause, not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Lead us, not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And you see how that kind of clarifies the intention of the line a little bit. It doesn't kind of get all blurred together with the Old English and kind of figure out what it means. The assumption here is that God will lead us if we ask. Hamilton says, every time I pray this prayer, I'm asking God to lead me. I'm inviting God to turn me from the temptation that I am so easily drawn to. We can pray the same thing. That night, Marcy Calder drove home from the casino. Instead of giving up, she made a decision to live. It was the hardest thing she would ever do. Her marriage eventually ended in divorce, and she had to confess her addiction and seek forgiveness from each family member. She had to make financial restitutions to her friends and her neighbors. Remember what we talked about a couple weeks ago when we talked about forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean there aren't consequences, and forgiveness doesn't mean that you may not have obligations afterwards. She had to go back and make financial restitution to all of those people she had borrowed money from and the institutions that she had essentially stolen from. Later she said, although God has forgiven me, I still pay dearly for what I've done. My home, my children, my life will never be the same, but I'm learning what caused my addiction and how to resist the temptations that are constantly around me. My relationship with God is growing. Every day I resist temptation, I feel a little bit stronger. I no longer avoid church out of fear of feeling guilty. Now it is my faith strengthens me. Now my faith strengthens me. Let me briefly mention two other parts of this chapter and in this book, in this chapter and in this book. First, Hamilton goes into some discussion about horrific occasions of evil, showing what human beings collectively have been tempted and drawn into, mentioning things such as the Holocaust, the genocide in Rwanda in the 1990s, our own country's history of slavery, the shameful treatment of African Americans, the genocide European Americans inflicted on the native people of this country. He points out that all of these evils were carried out by peoples, most of whom claimed to be Christian, and people who probably prayed the Lord's Prayer on a regular basis. And in whatever justifications they used, they may well have told themselves that God wanted them to do this. This is the insidious nature of the whole thing, that when we are tempted and pulled into evil, that we can even see it as a good. This is why we have to stay close to God and stay close to God's guidance. I agree with Hamilton also that in today's environment, where people with opposite viewpoints, political viewpoints, are demonized or demeaned or spoken of as less than human, accepting that as sort of the status quo is the first step toward being manipulated by the evil, right? Or the evil one. I think that's a real warning for all of us in today's world. I want to quickly mention that there's also a doxology that we use when we say the Lord's Prayer. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. In various manuscripts of the Lord's Prayer down through the centuries, there are at least 10 different endings to this prayer, but none of them appear in the oldest Greek texts. So it's kind of interesting. The ending, for thine be the kingdom and the power and the glory forever, is not really part of the original prayer that Jesus spoke, and yet if you have, for instance, an original King James version of the Bible, you can go to Matthew 6:13 and see that doxology verse there, because the King James version first appeared in the year 1611, and so that was long before some of the oldest current manuscripts have been found, been rediscovered. And so thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever is a beautiful and appropriate ending to the prayer, but is really something that the early church put on there. It's similar to words of praise that we find in 1 Chronicles 29, and it was almost certainly later added by congregations in the early church. Essentially, it is saying, because yours, God, yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. Help us to remember that. Yours is the kingdom, yours is the power, yours is the glory. We're giving God that glory. And, oh God, I know you are with me, and I know you hear my prayer. That's really what that doxology is saying. As we go forth back into our lives this coming week, let's remember the insidious nature of temptation. Let's lift this Lord's Prayer up to God. Let's continually go to God with this prayer that God might lead us and guide us away from falsehood, away from false understanding. Let's take the Lord's Prayer with us so that we can pray, not mine, God, but thine. Not me, God, but you. And as we pray this prayer, let us also live it out, that we might know God's leading and God's guidance each and every day. I'm going to invite our musicians to come forward right now. As they're coming forward, let's bring our hearts together in a time of prayer. Would you pray with me? Loving God, our lives are part of a larger whole, a larger community of which we are a part. Help us to be aware of our dependence upon you. And through this prayer, may we come to you for our daily bread, all of it, all that is mentioned in this prayer. May each of us work to combine our deepest understandings, our faith itself, with our giving and our serving, so that what we value most highly will also be reflected in the way that we minister and care for one another, to each other in this world. In the name of the one who gave himself for us, we pray this prayer. Your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. I'm going to invite our ushers to come forward right now. As they're coming forward, let's be prepared to receive our morning offering.
Everybody falls sometimes. Gotta find the strength to rise from the ashes and make a new beginning. Anyone can feel the ache. You think it's more than you can take, but you're stronger, stronger than you know. Don't you give up now. The sun will soon be shining. You gotta face the clouds to find the silver lining. I've seen dreams that move the mountains, hope that doesn't ever end, even when the sky is falling. I've seen miracles just happen, silent prayers get answered, broken hearts become brand new. That's what faith can do. Doesn't matter what you've heard, impossible is not the word. It's just a reason for someone not to try. Everybody's scared to death when they decide to take that step out on the water, but it'll be alright. Life is so much more what your eyes are seeing. You will find your way if you keep believing. I've seen dreams that move the mountains, hope that doesn't ever end, even when the sky is falling. I've seen miracles just happen, silent prayers get answered, broken hearts become brand new. That's what faith can do. Overcome the odds, you don't have a chance. That's what faith can do. When the world says you can't, it'll tell you that you can. I've seen dreams that move the mountains, hope that doesn't ever end, even when the sky is falling. I've seen miracles just happen, silent prayers get answered, broken hearts become brand new. That's what faith can do. That's what faith can do. Even if you fall sometimes, you will have the strength to rise. Gladly we praise you and bless you, Creator, O God of light. Christ, we adore you and thank you, compassion, O God our light. Great Holy Spirit, by you we are born from above. Hallelujah.
Please be seated. Thank you, music team. Just so grateful for what these guys do every week. It was just really, really incredible. Yeah. I want to mention some folks that we're holding in prayer right now. Dorothy Edwards, continuing treatment for cancer. Doug Craig, also being treated for cancer right now. We hold both of them in our prayers for strength and God's presence. For Charlene Brown, who's dealing with many different multiple health issues. Her mother, Mary Mata. We also lift up Sherry and Loris Dobbins, both dealing with health issues right now. Continuing to pray for Marcella Bishop's daughter, Rebecca. And also Terry and Dean Hancock's daughter-in-law, Sarah, who is battling cancer. And so we hold all of these folks in our prayers, as well as all the prayers that we bring with us today. Let's bring our hearts together now as we share together in a time of prayer. Loving God, we thank you for the opportunity to gather this morning to worship you as we come to this moment in your presence, Lord. Hear the cries and concerns of our hearts, the fears, the joys, the hopes that we bring with us this morning. Lord, you have created, you are still creating, and we realize that when you work through us, you are doing a new thing in a new place with a new group of people. We thank you for the children and families who are here today and those who will join us this afternoon. We seek to provide a safe place where kids can have fun. Families will be reminded once again that we are here, that your strength and presence are here in this neighborhood. Help us to be your hands and your heart in this world. We continue to pray for people and situations all over the world. We lift up the people of Ukraine, the hardships that they are going through right now. People in other areas recovering from natural disasters as well. Help us, Lord, to reach out to those around us, to be light in a dark place, to be the people that you would have us be. God, we continue to pray for those who are homeless, those who are destitute, those who may be experiencing grief or pain, those who are worried about their job situations. God, in this moment of stillness, move in our hearts. Speak to us in ways that our souls can hear. Create within us a place where we can connect to you. As we pray now to you, this incredible prayer, the prayer that your beloved Son taught us so long ago, by saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. We move now into that time where we share the Lord's Supper together. We come once again to the table. We imagine a table where Jesus looked out and saw his disciples, his family, on the night that he was betrayed. When we gather in this setting, we're much like that group of disciples. As Jesus shared the Passover meal with them, he took the elements of that Passover meal and he gave them a brand new meaning. First, he took bread, and after giving God thanks and praise, he broke the bread, and he gave it to his disciples, saying, Take, eat. This is my body, which is given for you. Whenever you do this, remember me. And then Jesus took the cup, And after giving God thanks and praise, he gave it to his disciples, saying, "Drink this, each of you. This is my blood of the new covenant, shed for you and for many for the forgiveness of sin. Whenever you drink of this, remember me." And so as we share this cup of forgiveness, we realize that we are one body. We are connected to one another, connected to God, connected to our evening service, connected to those who are viewing this service online right now. And just as we share bread that has been broken, we remember that each one of us is broken in some way, in need of God's love, in need of God's forgiveness, in need of God's healing touch. And so we come to the table in that spirit. I'm going to invite our communion helpers to come forward right now, and our ushers, and we'll take just a moment to serve them. And then as we finish that time, I invite you as the ushers guide you to come forward and share this holy feast. My friends, the bread of life given for you, the cup of God's love shared with you. Receive now these holy gifts in great thanksgiving.
Bind us together, Lord, bind us together, bind us together in love. There is only one God, there is only one King, there is only one God. Together, Lord, bind us together with cords that cannot be broken. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together, Lord, bind us together in love. cannot be broken. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together, Lord, bind us together in love.
Thank you, music team. And thank you to all of you for being here today. It's great to have you worshiping with us. And I do hope you'll come and join us downstairs for a time of fellowship and sharing immediately following our service today, and be able to visit with one another and get some refreshments as well. Remember, you may see our children in the very near future. I'm going to invite you to stand so we can be together for our sending forth, our benediction. My friends, go now in peace, love God, and serve the people. And may our God, the God who leads us, the God who guides us, the God who walks with us every step of the way, may that God guide us not into temptation as we go forth this week. Go in God's peace, go in God's presence, and go in God's grace. Amen.
I saw the light, I saw